Hey, welcome to Filler. I'm Joe.
And I'm Steve. What's up, Joe?
Tired, man. Just tired.
Me too.
How are you doing? Tell me how you're doing.
My back hurts.
What happened? Why'd your back hurt?
I'm just getting older. Sometimes you need to just put something cold on it to ease the pain. So I think I'm going to get a spindrift and hold it on my back. Yes, the bit is back.
Wah, 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 wah.
Wah.
You thought we let that go.
Yeah, you thought we were done with the whole spindrift thing. Or if you have no idea what we're talking about, we had a running gag last season where I kept trying to get us a sponsorship with Spindrift, but it was mostly just negging them until they would pay us money to say nice things. But then it just kind of became like a shorthand to a joke, like saying 6'7" or something.
Wow. I like that analogy, being on the receiving end of endless 6'7" jokes every day.
Yeah.
Our spindrift bit means nothing, just like 6'7", and yet we laugh.
Yep. What's the word for that? It's like an inside joke, but all you have to do is say like the one word, and it's like it calls to mind what the whole joke is. You know what I mean?
No, I don't.
There's got to be a word for that.
Yeah.
Tell us in the comments.
Mimetic sounds right, but that just means meme. So
right, yeah.
I don't know. Steve, why don't you tell us what we're talking about this week? What's filling our cups?
Okay. So I had this idea that every episode we talk about art that we love or art that we love to hate. And I think it's time that we put our money where our mouth is and examine our own art that we have made. And we both picked things from college or around early post-grad years. Probably, and feel free to correct me, probably when we were both at our most pretentious.
Maybe. I don't know. Upon reread, I don't know. I don't know if I got more or less pretentious, especially with geese nowadays. But continue.
Wait, geese should be the new spindrift.
Honestly,
so we just shit on them every episode until they come on as a guest.
I really want to do an episode on geese. I don't. Keep going, please.
Okay, so here was the basic idea. We take one piece of writing from Joe's early to mid-20s, and I do the same. So for you, it was a short story from your college thesis that was a short story collection. And for me, it was a script that I wrote like a year after I graduated. I had been drafting it for about a year or two. It was my fourth ever script. It was, as I call it, the least bad of the four, and was ready to go down memory lane enough to share it with you and see what you thought and be fully ready to cringe at myself. And it did not disappoint in that way. But your story was really good. So I think this could be an interesting exercise for us to just examine, who we used to be, who we were as writers and creators when we were at our most naked,
Mm-hmm.
Just like fresh from the educations we've gotten and the kind of fresh eyes of what we wanted to do with writing as a career, as like a path to fulfillment. And neither of us are writing in these mediums at all anymore. So it's...
That is false.
Oh, are you still writing shorts? Actually, wait, that's true because...
You're right. Yeah, I got published.
That's right. I bought that book when you first joined the LVP.
Mm-hmm.
You told us about it, and I was just like, oh, shit, bye. And I read it, and I was like, damn, he's really good.
Yeah, I don't do it enough. I won't disagree with that. I should be writing more regularly, and I think I'm starting to. But and I think you should be writing more scripts. But we could talk about that more when we get into our conversation about it.
Cool. I am glad to hear you say that. Yeah, so why don't we start with going through some stuff from the introduction to your thesis story collection, because I just thought it was very interesting to read it and see that you were kind of contemplating on what writing meant to you, who your influences were, what you wanted to convey through your writing. And I guess I'm just curious if all of that stayed true. The big thing being I noticed that you say in the introduction that you absolutely hate writing and rewriting. Do you still feel that way?
I didn't even feel that way back then. So this is the fun thing, because so in that introduction, I guess I was probably at my most pretentious when I was in college writing this. I wrote that I hated rewriting, I hated revision.
Mm-hmm.
It was difficult to kill my darlings, even though I think that's one of my stronger skills now in whatever creative thing I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
But in the afterword for my thesis, I straight up say,
oh shit, I didn't get that far.
It's all good. You're good. Don't worry. It's a 71-page Google Doc. Don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
I like the first line of my afterword is, I lied to you. I love every little bit of the writing process. And and that the whole thing is you have to go on the journey of reading the short stories, reading the play, and then you get to this conclusion, and you're supposed to feel, hopefully, that I'm full of shit because I did a good job, because I buffed out as much as I could buff out as I went through it. So I'm kind of setting you up to like do like a death of the author type thing, and for you to call me on my crap. And I got an A on the thesis, and my advisor was like, Joe, you're being kind of cheeky. Shout out to
you?
To
No
Professor
way.
Dudley, Anton. Kids would call him the GOAT nowadays. But when I did that, he was like, I see what you're doing there, and I like it, but I don't think you'll get a good grade. And I said, well, Anton, I don't care, because I'm leaving in a couple weeks anyway. And I got a good grade. So it was awesome.
So to speak on that revision process, you quoted Stephen King in On Writing by saying, the best way to begin the revision process is by putting the story in a drawer and letting it gather dust and get out of one's mind for some time. Clearly, you've had to buff the edges for those stories, but now that we've done this experiment of reading our old stuff back, do you see more things that you would change or cut upon the passing of time and growth in all that time?
So the story we're talking about today, frankly, not so much. It feels like an artifact of its time, which is good. I think there's different choices that I'd make today, but they're not necessarily better or worse. I probably could tighten some things here and there, and that's fine, but nothing that would really rearrange the emotional element of the story. Looking at the play in my thesis, I would actually really love to revisit it. I scrolled through it very quickly just now, and I was like, oh, I can do some tightening here, and it would be kind of cool to do this performance. Like, I would like to, it might be fun to get a couple actors to act it out, because it's such a short thing. Oh, sure. I need two people. Like, it's, but I think it would be fun to like do a black box kind of theater sort of thing about it, but I would tighten that up. The other two stories in that collection, I don't even want to look at, because I remember what they're about.
Really?
Yeah, it's not a thing about embarrassment or anything like that. It's just, I had one professor who was very much so like from the Hemingway school of writers.
What, write drunk, edit sober?
No, more so like macho, and more so be as brief as you can, which, like, yes, brevity is important, but I remember one story, like he really was pushing me to end it in a certain way, and that's the ending that I kept with then, and it never landed with me. It just felt like it was a good suggestion. It was like something to make me think about, because I couldn't land the ending then, but I don't like his ending, and that's the one that I went with. So I would revisit that one to fix it, but I don't want to, because of the memories and emotions attached to it.
Got it. That's fair. Yeah, that is interesting how like the cathartic experience of writing something based on your experience or your feelings gives you the chance to just literally get that feeling out of you. And I've talked about that with songwriting, that I didn't know I was over something until I was able to have the lyrics staring back at me. So I get that. But I also think it's really interesting that we're going to be our own worst critics, right? And where I was looking at my script and saying, like, this is unsalvageable, you were reading it and thinking like, there's a lot of good stuff here. I would change this, this, and this, but this is worth revisiting. And I never would have thought of it that way. We noticed a lot of the same problems and the things that should have been fixed, but your tendency, because it's not yours and you want to be supportive, is like, no, there's something good here that I was not going to allow myself to see because I was just like, oh God, you up your own ass little 22-year-old who thinks you know everything. Like, you know, being hard on myself, harder than I deserved. But like, it's interesting when people say like you are your own worst critic, like, yeah. And if you're not, you also might get delusional in thinking that you're better than you are. So it's all about finding that balance.
Yeah, it's definitely a fine line to walk. I scanned through your notes really quickly after you were revisiting it before I got to read your script.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sad to see how hard you were on yourself, but I also think it's because we're coming from two different perspectives, because you are the writer, like you're the creator of this. So you're going to go hard on yourself in a positive way, but it can skew negative if you go too hard and are unforgiving. But also at the same time, I have years of teaching under my belt, and I'm doing this creative writing class now that it's like I'm not going to clip someone's wings. And that's not to say that anything that I say here that is complimentary or positive is me gassing you up. Get it? The pun when we get to the title. But rather, if I think I would be straight with you and I would say, hey, you missed it on this one, but that doesn't mean you don't have the skills. It just means like it's not working, and I can tell you why it's not working. Your script works. Like it doesn't, you know what I mean? Like that it functionally works as a script. Like I have seen worse movies made. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
that's true.
And as it is, like before you do any revisions and before you do anything that could make it a better movie, this is a strong, solid script that like, you know, I wouldn't bullshit you. Like I don't bullshit my students. Like I'm straight with them and I'll say like, hey, this is what you're good at. I'm not seeing you do the thing you're good at right now. What's going on? And then we figure out that thing.
Yeah, that's why I would believe your notes, because you really don't beat around the bush. And you didn't in the notes. You were like pointing out a lot of the same flaws that I was, just not as vitriolic about it as I would be.
Yeah. Let's get into it. So tell us about A Collapse of Gases from 2018.
Well, first of all, I hate the title. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. I think I was trying to go for something in the vein of, well, I know one of the big influences was a movie called The Spectacular Now.
I never saw that.
I only saw it once. I really liked it. And it was written by the guys who did 500 Days of Summer, Weber and, what's his name? Michael Weber and Scott Neustadter. Mostly they just do adaptations now. Like they did The Disaster Artist and I think Cloudy with a Chance. No, that was the Lord and Miller. Never mind. But mostly they're doing, they did Fault in Our Stars. Like they do those kind of book adaptations. But Spectacular Now and 500 Days were like a couple of their original spec scripts. Mm-hmm. And I was really inspired by that style. That was very much what I was trying to emulate. The movie's pretty good. It's got Miles Teller, Shailene Woodley, Brie Larson, and the ending of it really stuck with me. Mm-hmm. So I copied it.
Nice.
So spoilers for the movie, but the ending is, wow, it's even more the same than I thought now that I'm remembering it. I don't know. I wanted a title that was kind of like hinting at something smarter sounding or could work as a book title or a movie. Mm-hmm. So the whole thesis of it, I guess, is a collapse of gases is like when a star is formed, is like when the pressure around a bunch of like cosmic gases like implodes on itself and the density forms into a star.
You could say when a star is born.
Yeah, but that was taken, so I had to be like, well, how was the star born? But, it's the log line for the movie is like 20-something post-grad moves to LA with dreams of stardom and no real talent. Mm-hmm. It was very much like, I don't know if you've ever seen Bo Burnham's old sitcom, Zach Stone is Going to Be Famous.
No, I always wanted to.
It's really good and really funny and kind of ahead of its time because it's just about this guy who has no talent but just wants to be famous, and he's insufferable, and he's like pushing the people around him away. He wastes all of his college savings to hire a camera crew to follow him around to capture the moment he becomes famous without having a plan to actually do so. So he's got a different scheme every.
I see the inspiration for gases in that.
Yeah, and that he's going to be a rock star or he's going to be a famous chef. Like, he keeps changing what it is. But the heart of it is actually him noticing the people around him are growing up and moving on with their lives, and he feels like he can't match them, so he has to find his own way to success. And that's kind of what I was going for a little bit. Weirdly, I ended up doing a lot of stuff that was similar to Bo Burnham's movie, 8th Grade, before that even came out. Especially the whole thing of like this character trying to get a YouTube channel like off the ground, and so is Elsie Fisher's character in 8th Grade, but she's a kid, you know. It's like the point of that movie is to capture the awkwardness and how big the world feels to a child now, whereas this is very much, or my story is very much more kind of Arrested Development of, you know, 20 somethings, which just fits very well into, you know, loving Scott Pilgrim and all that. So that was very much the write what you know era for me of just writing out my life. And so much of this script is just my life. Like,
Sure.
To the point where I'm reading it and remembering the things that inspired this. And some of it isn't even inspiration. It's just copied.
Yeah.
Like having 2 jobs at once for the main character. I did that. One was bartending at a Thai restaurant and one was working at a movie theater. I pulled some stuff and built off of it, but that was actually what I did. When I read through and saw that his old job back home in Utica, because I'm from Utica, couldn't, you know, shy away from that, was also working at a movie theater. But then reading it back on the page, I'm like, does this make any sense that just from a visual standpoint, that to see him go from working in LA at a movie theater to build himself up versus going back to Utica with his tail between his legs to get his old movie theater job back, does that provide any kind of visual distinction, like for him to be working in a movie theater? That's the kind of thing I wouldn't think about back then because I was just doing what I knew.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting to look back at this and see like where this was like a therapy session for me and where it's an actual movie.
Well, I think something that stood out to me, especially about that Utica plot point, it felt very mumblecore and it felt very Duplass Brothers. So although you're saying where's like the visual element or the visual component of that, how's that going to work? It feels like you're not really going anywhere or doing anything, but the journey isn't visual in those movies. The journey is inward and emotional. And I think you capture that, especially when in your script you figure out what the emotion is that you're hunting down, where it's less about Ethan and his dream and more about Ethan and his father.
Yeah.
And when you get to that beating heart of it, he send him back to Utica. He could do the same job over. Send him back to school. It doesn't matter, because what the story that you're really telling, or the story that we're really seeing on the screen, is going to be about Ethan reconciling with his mother's death, and how does he and his father fit into life now that their puzzle pieces don't click the same way they used to.
I'm glad you bring that up because, well, actually, I'm going to get back to that point in a second. First, I did just have the thought of like, I guess it could be a simple color grading and set design thing of like, oh, the movie theater in LA is bright and interesting and engaging, and then the one back in Utica is just gray and dull, and it just like reflects everything else that's gray and dull for his life there.
Thinking like a true producer.
Yeah, yeah, but okay, this is actually a good way to go back to the other thing that I diverted from. So I took this script to some at the time, current students of my old screenwriting teacher in college, because he was doing a project with his students. It was like a production class where he would pair up graduated former students of his who had scripts and pair them with kids in this production class that would have to take a script and then pitch it. So like put together a production deck and casting ideas and then they give notes on the script back to me. So we kind of like work together through it. And that was a great experience because
That's awesome.
I think I added like 10 pages to the script just from their suggestions, and which is funny because it's still really short. It's only 96 pages. Minimum's like 100 really, because like you probably know this, but like writing a script, like one page is supposed to be 1 minute,
Right.
Like based on the spacing and how long it takes to read and like how it would translate to visuals. It's like 1 page per minute. So you get a sense of the runtime just from the page count. But yeah, it was originally in like 80 something pages and it went up to 96 because they had good ideas of what was missing and what could be done to add to it. And I found that really helpful. And I thought that was really cool that they got that kind of experience because it wasn't just with another student who was a writer. It was with someone who's already been through all of this, you know? Yeah. And at the time I was living in LA and like writing and rewriting that script because I wanted it for my portfolio to show people like, this is what I can do. Like, please hire me on your TV show for the writer's room. But really it'd be a PA first getting coffee. But that's a whole other story. What was interesting about writing this script for me was I basically did a first draft from the moment I moved on from my movie theater and bartending jobs into an actual talent agency job. Mm-hmm. Starting in the mailroom, then going up to assistant. So I was able to have a little bit of hindsight looking back on that part of my life, but not as much as now where I'm not even in LA at all. And weirdly, the going back to Utica thing ended up being self-fulfilling prophecy because I wouldn't go back until the end of 2019 instead of 2018 when this last draft was done. So that was weird. But there's even some things in there that you wouldn't expect, like they were set up for the story that you wouldn't expect to be based on a real thing. But the car crash happened.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I totaled my car on Thanksgiving. My girlfriend at the time was in the car with me, and we ended up okay. Like, everybody was okay. The person who hit us was fine, but I had to go through the insurance process of, like, getting money for the car and then having to get a new one with it, which my parents took care of me and took care of it, got the money, and then got a cheaper version of the same car and sent it to me from across the country, which I'm, like, super grateful for. But for this story, I was like, okay, well, if we establish that he's on his phone while driving all the time, you're going to be like, look at the road, like every time you see it. So there's got to be a payoff for it, right? It's a Chekhov's gun. And then what would happen to this character? Not to me, not because of who my father is, but these people, what would they do after Ethan just told his dad to go fuck himself? Why would he give him the money to get a new car?
Yeah.
And that there were two things that really drove the story besides just recounting things in LA or my experience in LA. It was the idea of a dwindling bank account going down and having a Chiron for it. It was very much like the days being shown for 500 Days of Summer.
Yeah.
And because it was that, you know, when I first moved out there and I didn't have a job yet, I would watch my savings go down, and it felt like being on a timer before I could, before I'd have to leave. You know, this dollar amount is how long I have to get a job, you know? Right. And I wanted to convey that. And there's even some jokes kind of in there. And when you see like that he's got a job, it only goes back up like a little bit because he's not getting paid enough, you know? It's subtle stuff, but it's there. And so that was one reason. And the other thing was trying to make use of a shitty, overused trope, but trying to turn it into a good thing, and that's dead mom.
Mm-hmm.
My mom is alive, and she's healthy, and I'm very grateful for that because she's my best friend. But I had to get in the head of, like, what would a guy who's very similar to me do? Or first I had to start with, like, what would I do if my mom died?
Mm-hmm.
Especially prematurely. And Ethan has a lot in common with me, but is a lot more naive in some ways, more like, certainly more optimistic and like a positive overall, but completely unfocused. Like, he's trying all these different things to be famous in some way because he believes that he will be a star, because his mother always encouraged him to pursue something because she saw that he was special. Lots of our mothers tell us that we're special, so it's not that important. But the bigger thing was, okay, mom's dead. What about the dad? And that was something to explore of, okay, what does this mean for the two of them? What is his father like? Why would Ethan leave LA or leave Utica to go to LA and leave his dad all alone?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, maybe he blames him for his mother's death, but he's so self-centered and focused on his own stardom that he can't see how much his father is grieving too, how much guilt he feels, thinking he is the one who's responsible. So when you say that the heart of the story really is Ethan and his father and them reconciling their shared loss, that's exactly what those kids in that production class told me. They were like, this is really where the movie shines. This is where it all feels like it has a point. And I couldn't agree more upon reading it. I was like, as soon as we got to that part, I was just like, this just got a lot better. You know, I think this is suddenly not bad. The problem is that it happens 60 minutes into a 90-minute movie. Yeah, I guess that's the Act 2 break, whatever. But like, so mathematically, structurally, it all works out. But that's way too long of meandering to get to what the story's actually about, because I had to spend so much time building up these characters that, like, I am proud of. I think there are a lot of fully realized characters. The problem is they each have this long ass soliloquy giving their life story, or this like philosophical feeling that they have on what their life means and shit like that. That's like, I was so afraid of having thin characters that I overcorrected. Yeah. And I was so afraid of seeming like my female characters weren't realized well enough that I had to throw in a scene for Nina, the main female character, passing the Bechdel test. And how did I do that? By having her just like yell at a girl in line for the bathroom. I'm like, oh, that's your great male feminist take. Passing the Bechdel test by just making her fight with somebody.
So the things that you're saying, as I was reading them, I didn't particularly feel like I was getting bogged down in soliloquies from people, aside from Nina. I think Nina was like she was the one that stood out to me, where it's like, okay, you're actively trying to develop her, but when I saw that, I liked it. It's just something that you can do better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be done in line at that moment, but it made me want to know more about her and for her to be a full-fledged character. But you're talking about how the real like emotion or the real beating heart of the movie doesn't really appear until 2/3 of the way in. That's an easy correction that now that we're sitting here and talking about it. Like, because now that you know what the point is, you just got to bring the dad in earlier. You got maybe there's like texts that are going back and forth, which is something that's an easy overlay, which would match with your Chiron, you know? And that could even be like an alternative Chiron. It's not just the numbers going down, but here's a text and it says red and Ethan's not answering, you know, or vice versa, or whatever the case might be. Or it's a text from Ethan to his father. And you're developing this in the background while also maintaining Ethan's really going for it and being annoying about his going for it and us wanting to see him succeed, that still can be the first 2/3 of the movie. You know what I mean? Like they're like that is hooky enough in its own way because it still rings true. People want to pursue their dreams and they're going to do every little thing that they can to do it, even if it's a shotgun spray of all of their creativities. I'm raising my hand because I'm one of those people. Like it's not it's not an uncommon thing.
Yeah.
But everything that you're pinpointing as like this is an issue, like we just fixed that on mic right now. You just have to go back and figure it out and you make it you, right? Like and just shove it and put things in place how you want them to be. You talking about having too many characters, definitely overstuffed on characters, but they're good characters. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're not bad. I was kind of surprised.
I'm looking at our notes now and I see Reggie and I was like, no, not Reggie, Ollie, the drummer. Like,
yeah, Ollie the drummer. Yeah.
Why don't you collapse Reggie and Ollie into one person? Now you have fewer characters and one really
Here's why.
one.
This is so stupid because so I condensed a little bit and took some fun inspiration from real experiences. So Ethan's first apartment, or his only one there, is in like an abandoned warehouse that is basically condemned, and he has to like pull this like folding gate open just tight enough that he can squeeze through to get inside. I went to a place like that. I had a friend who lived in a place like that because the rent was $400 a month, and the roommate, like my roommate is a totally normal guy, like a good friend of mine from college, but the roommate was inspired by a bartender I worked with who actually did that thing where he hangs from hooks in his back. Like he told me about that while working. And I also just thought he was an interesting guy. And because he was a bartender who didn't drink, I was just like, that's kind of funny. And then I just made that character that. And then I came up with Ollie separately. But I was so bogged down by the real life inspiration, I didn't think of consolidating.
Right. But you can consolidate that because you put those two people together and now it's not two interesting people. It's one super interesting person. And your movie gets that much tighter in the moment. There's a part where Reggie and the cat Lysander.
Yeah,
the two of them, which is a great name for a cat. The two of them leave the apartment. I think it's so rife and just full of tension, which is what you want in a story. I think it'd be great if Reggie and the cat leave, but Reggie, Ollie, whatever, that character, if we're making it into a super character, remains a good friend of Ethan and the drummer of the band.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That happens in real life where like people might get to know one another in one instance and circumstance, but actually they work better together in this instance and circumstance. And they continue on that life path. Like that adds verisimilitude to your story while also condensing it, while also being fun because I liked Reggie, I liked Ollie. Put one name and slap them together. I'm going to like that guy too. You know, like.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. And these are things that seem obvious now, right?
Yeah.
Because I remember you pointing out that you liked the character of Reggie, and he's like not that involved in the story. So I was just like, I'm surprised it even made an impression on you. So that's kind of cool.
What was the name of the roommate, the Kieran Culkin character in Scott Pilgrim?
Oh, Wallace Wells.
That he's Wallace Wells. And like right away, once he showed up on screen, I was like, this is Wallace Wells. Like that's who he is. Like whenever he shows up on the screen, I know I'm going to have a good time because it's going to be whatever bit or gag that Wallace has in Scott Pilgrim. That's Reggie's bit or gag, which is Lysander. You know, so it's like these like little in one-er things for people or characters make them into real people. So that becomes a real person right away.
And I think, obviously going to school for screenwriting and filmmaking in general, knowing the rule of show don't tell, it's one of those things I think in the script looking back that I'm like, I can see where I remember the rule and where I forget. Because I remember it when you get the visual of Ethan driving and he sees that his dad calls him and he ignores it and throws his phone on the passenger seat. And then when it goes back to his wallpaper, it's just, it's a picture of him with a woman that we don't know.
Yeah.
And it's like, visual language, like, yep, dead mom. Okay, this is where we're going with it. But even if it's a cliche idea, that is a way of telling it with visuals versus all the soliloquies I give to characters that where they over explain themselves. Sometimes I remember the rule and sometimes I don't. And then thinking of a visual like Ethan walking in for the first time to his apartment and seeing Reggie hanging from the ceiling with the hooks in his back is a striking image that would offset somebody just walking into their new home for the first time. And I remember that, but then more of the movie is just him interviewing for jobs and like going on a normal date to the restaurant at the end of the Santa Monica Pier. And I'm just like, this is the tonal inconsistency that I'm having of like, sometimes it's wacky, cartoony, haha, and other times it's so normal.
But I disagree. I don't think there are tonal inconsistencies. I don't think you named her, or maybe you did. Was it Penny? Who's the boss at the Tide bar?
Yeah, okay, I have to be careful because I think I named her Peggy.
Peggy, okay.
But it's really close to what her real name was.
Okay.
So
you just got to rename her.
Yeah, but I'm hoping that Peggy wasn't her real name and I'm just forgetting.
Okay, so I'm just going to call her the boss at the Thai bar. She is a character that is normal but is also real right away.
Yeah.
And whenever he was there and working with her, I found her instantly engaging and fun and funny. She wasn't a wacky boss like a Michael Scott, but she was she was interesting to watch. But that's normal. Like, he's on the job interview. If anything, no, because you even developed Kellen, the movie manager, with the dancing.
By giving him a soliloquy. Oh, but that was true, actually. Okay, so yeah, you know how they say like the best studying to be a writer is to just go live your life?
Yeah.
That's why, because I would meet all these different interesting people in LA. I had a manager at that movie theater who was a breakdancer.
That's cool.
And has kids and a wife, and he was only like 5 years older than me. And it was interesting enough that it stuck. And I was like, okay, I'll show him. And I wish I had stuck with just him showing off his dancing as a surprise when they're all at that party.
Yeah.
Because that'd be like just a funny moment of like, oh shit, he can get down. Versus like also throwing in his little monologue of like how he had dreams of being a dancer, but then he settled for married life and this just became his new dream. You know, it's like, we could have got that.
So here's my thing with soliloquies, because I actually forgot about his, and I'm glad we got to him. I think they work in this genre of movie because it's essentially a coming of age story.
Yeah.
And even if Ethan is a 20s Arrested Development, it's a coming of age thing. He's growing up. He's like dealing with something and he has to let go of something. In this case, the innocence he's losing is his mother. He literally has to get over her death or like learn to cope with it, learn to move on, right? In movies like this, although soliloquies are kind of like an exposition dump, when you're a kid, you get lectured at.
Yeah.
Like it's part of what it is. So if anyone's soliloquy truly didn't work for me, it was Nina's, because she is also a kid. Granted, she's a little older than Ethan. She has her shit a little more figured out. So perhaps she's earned a little bit of a soliloquy, but we can make her look wiser or have her stuff together more. But I don't think having older characters in buildings Romans talk at people for a second, even if you're like getting like a lore dump or something on them, is all that bad. You're using a trope of the genre to say something that's important, even if it's been said before. It's important because it's still not figured out and it's just the truth of life.
Yeah.
So even though we have another dead mom in the movie, yeah, it is a cliche background, but cliches are cliches because they're true and they're real and they happen all the time.
Because they work. Yeah.
People have dead parents. This is something that happens. So if you're sitting there and you're watching this and your heart is a fist of coal, you're going to go, oh, this again? But if your movie clearly has something to say, which yours does, okay, dead mom, keep going. Like, that's fine. Like, it's not, these things won't stand out negatively.
Yeah, it's not just, oh, he needs something tragic in his backstory. It's actually part of what the movie's about.
Yes.
So you kind of get around the cliche of it by having it mean something. There's a Dimitri Martin movie that I didn't see until after I wrote this. I forget what it's called, but it has like the exact same thing where like it's about a guy who Dimitri Martin's character is like estranged from his dad since his mom died. Again, kind of basic idea, like you're going to come across stuff that seems like you ripped it off even when you hadn't seen it before because there's a million stories out there,
Yeah.
But so it's funny to recognize things after the fact like that. But something I thought of later as an answer to the issue of the long soliloquies, which I should mention are terrible because the dialogue is really bad. Because dialogue's the hardest part, I think. The thing that I would do now as an answer is to like maybe have a running joke that every time somebody starts to endlessly prattle on about their backstory, they just start turning into the teacher from the Peanuts. Like just kind of making that noise to show that Ethan doesn't care.
And we can go back to his voiceover because you do that a couple times too.
Yeah. But then I thought about it and I was like, Ethan's not that kind of asshole.
No.
Like, yeah, he's self-centered, but he's not mean and he doesn't not care about people.
Mm-mm.
And that's where the heart of the movie really is, in that the beginning, the opening monologue that he gives about a collapse of gases and a star forming is he's thinking about himself as becoming a star and how he thinks that all of the experiences and things that he does and trying a bunch of things will compound into making him a star. And then it's bookended at the end by him realizing that, no, it's not the things you do, it's the people around you.
Yeah.
It's the people that you engage with and the stories they tell and how you treat them that make you a more complete person. And it's not about being known by millions of people. It's about being known well by a few.
So I'm glad you say that. So there's two things I want to say. One is a suggestion for a title, Star Ride. Sit on it. Think about it.
That's not bad.
I thought of Star-Crossed and I was like, that's too Romeo and Juliet and I don't like that. I think Star-Eyed, because I think of the emoji. I feel like Ethan would use the Star-Eyed emoji a lot. So like that, I think it just like does several things all at once. So that's one thing that was going through my head as we're talking.
Yeah.
The second thing that I'm thinking about, especially on your note of not trying to reach a wide audience, but have a deep relationship with a real audience, is the ending. And this is, I think, perhaps my biggest question for you. After I read the entire script and I was like, yeah, I'm with it. Yeah, I see where there's like some things that we could buff out, but like there's like a real thing that's here. The one thing that didn't work for me thoroughly was that very ending. And now there's two parts to the ending, which half of it did work for me and the other half I didn't. And it's not because it's not a good ending. It just doesn't feel authentic to the movie that you wrote before it.
Yes.
And so the part that does work for me is that we don't know if he and Nina get back together when he and his father go back to LA. And I love that.
Yeah.
You know that they reconnect and that's all you need because you know that these two people support each other and they love each other. Whether or not that's romantically, it doesn't matter in your movie. But it does matter that they got each other's back because he believes in her and she sees something in him. And that's enough. And when they go their separate ways, it's a great way to like send us flying back to Utica, right? Because you think the movie's kind of over. Where's it going to go in these last 30 minutes? The part that doesn't work for me is that Ethan knows how to write a book. And I'm saying that not because I think it's fine if that's one of his many talents. It's just we don't see that throughout the movie. The thing that he keeps coming back to is his YouTube thing that he deletes. And it bothered me because
it could have been a good YouTube video instead.
It could have been a great YouTube video. This could have been how he hits. Like maybe the movie ends with him like throwing up this vlog as he's starting a new channel after he deletes the old one, and he starts seeing comments roll in or likes roll in.
Yeah.
That, like that, and that's where he like gets this idea. I'm a YouTube guy. Like I'm an influencer or whatever, like whatever you want to call it. But
yeah,
for him to write the book, I'm like, Ethan, you're not a book writer, man.
Yeah, you've never established before that you were interested in writing a book.
Yeah.
He's writing a script at one point in a cafe because literally everybody or every cafe you go to in LA, someone's writing a screenplay. But a book, no, has never been established.
I think it'd be even funny if like Byron, that's his dad's name, right? Byron?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it'd be funny.
Don't ask me why.
No, it's a good old white dude name. It'd be great if Byron like walks in and he sees Ethan talking into the camera and he starts to say something and then he closes the door because his son's doing his fucking thing.
Oh shit. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and like Byron recognizes I don't get it, but he gets it.
Okay. Now I'm thinking you and I need to write a script together because we're kind of filling in each other's blanks here. Which is also kind of how we make music together. But
you see what I mean? Like,
oh, I absolutely see it. I've hated the ending ever since I wrote it. Like I knew even then. But the thing is, reading it back now, I'm like, okay, I like that his narration is interspersed with scenes of him reconnecting with all the people that he's become friends with and close with in LA. He even sees Ollie in a new band and isn't jealous or anything. He's there to be supportive.
Yeah.
And it ends with Nina because that was the relationship that meant the most to him. So yes, it seems obvious now to be like, why isn't this just a YouTube video? Probably because I was thinking like, oh, I'm making the script about my life, so he's going to write a book about his life, and it's just going to go on and on. Like, it's so fucking stupid and so like narrow-minded. But the thing you just said that is best about the ending of the ambiguity of him reconnecting with Nina is the thing I ripped off the most from The Spectacular Now, because the end of that movie is Miles Teller getting over his alcoholism and writing his college entrance paper, recounting his life, and then going to visit Shailene Woodley at her college. And the final shot, or after they've broken up and things, and the final shot is of her looking at him unsure.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing. I'm like, even then I knew what I was doing with ripping that off, but I'm like, maybe enough people haven't seen The Spectacular Now that it won't matter, you know? Thank you, but also I'm going to put a huge asterisk on taking any credit for that. But, you know, sometimes the big thing my teacher always said was amateurs create, professionals steal.
You beat me to it. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. If you can steal the right things and make it your own in some way, put the pieces together in a combination that's never been done, that's what makes it yours. That's why you can have a dead mom in a script, you know? So I think last thing before we move on to your story, because I think we're going to go a little over time with this one, is I am still proud of the opening scene.
I love the opening scene. Yeah. Okay.
I think it's so good.
Okay. Let me talk about the opening scene.
Okay, go ahead.
I read that and I was like, okay. So first I got Judd Apatow right away.
Yeah.
It gave that sort of like college humor. Complimentary.
It's basically the opening of Bridesmaids, of like opening with them fucking.
Yeah. Right. And then it also was very awkward, but not uncomfortably awkward.
Yes.
Which makes it very real. And so there's no need to get TMI on camera. No one has like read your script or anything besides the two of us that are talking here. This is a very real interaction. Like it's just, and it's like, it's not bad. It's just real. And there's all this, I'm like trying to keep it as PG as I can because like, it's a good scene.
Did you say PC or PG?
PG. I don't care about PC, but
okay,
like,
I thought so.
No. But I think what gets me the most about your opening scene is that I'm laughing, I'm cringing, I'm relating, and then it ends and it cuts to him back in the car after Nina kicks him out of her apartment. And you make Nina important despite her feeling throwaway in that 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
Which I thought was awesome. I was like, oh, she came back? Hell yeah. That's novel right then and there. But I just felt bad. Like, like you immediately were like got me into Ethan's head and on his team for no matter what's going on, because dude is just having a rough go of it. And I'm like, that sucks, guy. Like,
yeah, for context to the people who are like, why am I listening to this when I'm never going to read this script? And it's true, you won't. There is the whole opening is like them hooking up. They had just met at a bar earlier. And yes, there are some awkward particulars of things that I've just never seen done in a movie before. And I was like, why has nobody done that? Like, I'm going to get down to it with certain, let's say, exiting processes.
They're facts of life.
Yeah, that if you've ever been there, you know about it. But the other thing I wanted to establish was that this is literally Ethan's first day in Los Angeles. He just drove here across the country, and he doesn't have anywhere to stay. So he is trying to stay over at this girl he just hooked up with's house. And she's like, I got to work in the morning. And she's like, wait, when did you get here? Yeah. Because he didn't want to let on that, like, oh, I'm homeless.
Yeah.
You know what? I will give myself credit for that. I think it is probably the strongest single scene. And as you said in your intro to your thesis, the first sentence is the most important thing. You know, you got to set the tone. You got to establish the stakes. And I think I actually achieved that with that. And I think it's going to give a lot of grace to anyone who would, or the reader would give a lot of grace for all the fuck ups later, because it starts pretty strong. Mm-hmm. So that's enough about me.
Well, but before we transition,
okay,
I have one last question.
Sure.
Which maybe it's quick. It depends how you answer, and it's whatever you say is fine. Now, after having had this conversation, are you going to go back and revise and edit it based on everything that we talked about? Why not?
No, because, okay, having worked in the entertainment industry and doing enough of it to recognize it was not for me, I'm not really interested in the rat race of how that whole business works. And I'm not really trying to build up a packet of scripts begging for somebody to read it. I think it's a fun medium. I've written a couple scripts for music videos. We've never made them, but I like that I can still, work that muscle. And it comes easy to me because I spent a lot of time learning the craft of it. But I'm okay letting it exist as a time capsule.
No. I appreciate what you're saying, but I think I might have I don't think I expressed what I mean about it. I don't mean for you to make a career out of.
Oh, yeah.
That's not what I mean. More so what I mean is, like, we know people who make movies, right? Like, I'm not saying like that you have to bring this to like a feature company or something. Like, I enjoyed this enough to watch this as a movie. And I think there's enough there, especially in our conversation just now, of sprucing it up to make it a genuinely good movie that, like, throw it up on Tubi, like, kind of thing.
That's true.
That's what I mean. Like, it doesn't, like, throw it under whatever banner you want to call it or something. Like self-produce as much as you can. Have it be the lowest budget. Shoot it on an iPhone, like that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, I think,
yeah. Or even a short version of it just to get the proof of concept. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's worth it enough to do something with it that doesn't necessarily have to be what you were taught, which is to go and make like a portfolio of spec scripts and all that and like make a career as a screenwriter. That's not what I'm saying. But I think it would be doing a disservice to what you made not to make it as good as you can and then try to make it, if you could, into a movie. Because I think it'd be cool. I would obviously I'd be down to help you in whatever fashion, whatever way, because I like doing anything creative. But it's just, I'm not going to BS you. If I think it's genuinely good enough to make, to just keep buffing and honing and then be like, hey friends, I'm not going to name people, but like, hey friends, like, can we
just
somehow
blackmail them publicly to
right, exactly. But like, they make good media too. They make good movies, and they're constantly getting better with their craft. And you clearly, in this conversation stuff that we talked about, you were like, yeah, it's obvious he should be a YouTuber at the end. Like, you know that, like things like that. Like, yeah, I got to work on the dialogue. Like, these are things that like you're going to go in there and it'll take you like 10 minutes each to fix.
Yeah.
Like nowhere near the amount of time and effort you did before, especially because you let it gather dust in the drawer for so long.
Right.
So now you're divorced from all of the maybe personal attachment you had. You got it out on the page. You got the catharsis. Now just make a damn good movie, man. Like you got the bones. Like, but obviously I'm not going to twist your arm. Just don't box yourself in is what I'm saying.
I really appreciate it. And I value your opinion so much because even when it feels contrarian and I disagree with it, you always give good reasons. And so I think it does mean a lot to hear that you saw something in it that was good, even if it's not in its final form. So thank you. That does mean a lot coming from you.
My pleasure.
All right, let's talk about something actually good. Your story.
It's so stuffy.
What do you mean by that?
I'm joking. It's actually not stuffy at all. This is like a pretty solid short story.
I'm so glad that you think so because I was like almost crying reading this.
That's awesome.
Tell me the inspiration, why this is your favorite of the ones in the collection.
Okay. So this is a short story called On Sight, and that's sight as in SIGHT.
Yeah, visual sight, not like a location.
Yeah. The germ of it stemmed from me having a thesis project where I knew that I wanted to do a collection of short stories, and I'd had them like really done and honed in creative writing classes. I don't remember if this was done in a creative writing class. I think it might have been one of them, but it didn't get as much attention as other stories did in the collection, which is wild to me because I think those are not my best work versus this. And my whole idea was that I wanted to write a short story in second person because no one does that. And so that's where like I'm using my contrarian pretentiousness because it's going to be tough to do. It's going to be challenging, but I wanted to challenge myself. And I had all these thoughts and feelings that were running through my head. And so the premise of it really is just this guy's life through the second person perspective via the lens of glasses. And that's it. And that sounds
lens.
Right. I didn't even mean that pun. I really, really had a tough time making it into something that was life spanning because I was only like 21 or 22 when I was writing it. But it just felt right. It felt normal because I was so obsessed with having glasses at this moment. Yeah. In the worst way. It's so dumb. But like at this point I'd had glasses for almost 10 years and they had kept me from playing sports. They had annoyed me when I would be laying in my bed and I'd be trying to lie on my side and read. And it was like all these little things about glasses that pissed me off. So much so that eventually I got LASIK, and now here I am years after LASIK, and glasses have returned. But one of the images that stood out to me before writing the story was how I was kissing a girlfriend in college, and our glasses clicked. And I was like, oh, that's a thing. Yeah. And you'll only know that if you have glasses. Right. But if you do have glasses, which a lot of people do, you're going to get it. And if you don't, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, I never thought about that. But when you are making out with someone, like your glasses are going to get in the way. That's such a great, similar, but beautiful example of the same thing I was going for with the condom thing. Yes. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Oh, man, that is funny. But yeah, that was the whole concept of it, and I made it part of my super pretentiously titled thesis, a little treatise on decay. There's a book that I never read, but I still have. I'm never going to read it. It's too long and way too depressing. But it's called, I think it's The Anatomy of Melancholy by Robert Burton, and it's just a dude obsessed about being sad and depressed, which is utterly my shit. And so that was like on my radar when I was writing this. And ever since being a kid, I don't know if I've ever talked to you about this, but I've definitely told people about it. I've had this like utter and abject fear of death. And it hit because I was laying on my side. This is going to be something that ends up in a future short story for sure. I was laying on my side, and I might have been like 4 or 5 years old. And when you're laying on your side, you could hear your heartbeat in your ear, right? And so me with my kid intrusive thoughts, just thinking and neurons firing and growing, I was like, wow, someday that won't be there. And I like had an existential crisis at 4 years old. And it stayed with me through then. And so like this whole collection ends up being me struggling with not only personal death, but just like relationship death, which is stuff that I struggled with in college and after college, and just what happens when things decay and how we struggle with it.
And from the other story that I read from this collection, that I can see that through line.
What was the other one you read?
Oh, the one with I forget what it was, Finding the Words.
Okay, that's the relationship one.
Yes, which I really like too, because that was very much utterly my shit of like that kind of indie romantic drama style.
I'm glad
very
that hit.
much there.
That's what I was going for.
Of course. I mean, but the big thing that stood out to me about this story is the exact same thing that I told my partner Allison once, because she was a creative writing major as well, and her favorite form of writing is short stories. She had this incredible short story called Secrets, that the thing that stood out to me immediately was how well she wrote the feelings and experiences of people well beyond her years. Like it always stood out to me, this line of her talking about like she was only 19 at the time, but she's talking about this marriage of people in their mid to late 30s and says, we don't make love anymore. We don't fuck. We just have sex. And I'm like, what a mature thing to be able to get.
That is really mature. Before
you've even had a mature relationship.
Yeah.
And that's so much of what I got in this story. Like
nice.
I could see, when the character starts out and he's a little boy, the language changes as he gets older.
Yeah.
Like it goes from like kind of wide-eyed, and like there's a moment where he's like, it was on the second page. You make it to the den or parlor or whatever its proper title is. Like, I love that, because then as he gets older, he starts like swearing, and like the things he's talking about are darker, but in his youth, he doesn't even know what everything is, and it works so well because it's in second person.
Yeah.
Like you are literally inside the head of the character. And I could see a lot of people being pretentious and trying to do that because it's hard, because they think, well, if no one else does it, then I'm going to be a genius for doing it. But you actually made it work.
So the thing about it was, I wasn't trying to be a genius. I was just trying to do it because we didn't read that. Like it was more so a fault of the curriculum that I had when I was in my undergrad. I wish we'd had that. Now when I teach, I really try to get something from everything that I can think of. And if I get a blind spot, like I hope my students tell me and I ask them to, so that we could read it. Just because like you should hear something from somewhere of all the time. Like I encourage them to do second person stuff because we don't read it. And they go, that's really weird. And I go, it's weird because you're not used to it.
Yeah.
Like that's it. But like if we talk about first person being I and third person being he, she, like it's not weird to have why are you skipping 2? Why are you skipping second person?
Right.
Like it's not a big deal, but it's a big deal because we don't see it. And I think it's because people do feel uncomfortable because you are the person.
Yes.
And that's a good thing. Maybe you should be a little uncomfortable for a little bit and get outside of your head and empathize and kind of let someone else take over for a little bit. It's just a story. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, especially when you're trying to examine the motivation for somebody to cheat on their spouse.
Yeah.
Like it's very easy to just hate that person for doing it. But what if you were the person? And what if you hated yourself for it?
Yeah.
then it suddenly becomes interesting, especially when, like, oh, there was this line I love about the red heels that was like,
I was happy with the red heels.
yeah,
I needed them to stand out and I needed them to be scandalous, and it was the perfect thing.
right. She's wearing those red heels again, the ones that pronounce her calves like music to a formerly deaf man's ears.
Yeah.
Like, look, there's a very low success rate for male writers to sexualize female characters without objectifying them, but here she literally is an object to him.
Yes.
You know, and it's awakening something in him that he hasn't experienced in a long time. So you get it right away of why he would cheat on his partner, and now he's living with the regret of that as she pulls away from him. He loses his family and all that. Like, it makes sense. Like how did you go into this saying, I'm going to do this in second person, or did you know for the story you were telling this is the right way to do it?
I didn't know it was the right way. I just wanted to do it at all. Yeah, I just thought it was cool.
Okay, then I'm giving you too much credit.
No.
God, there's just, I could quote so many things from this that I think are brilliant. But what influenced you with writing this? Because I thought I recognized Day Tripper, that comic that we read and talked about last season.
Yeah.
But I don't even know if you had read it by then.
It's funny that you said that because I didn't read it by then.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm guessing you said that because it's nonlinear with its time.
It's nonlinear. It's jumping around at different points in the character's life.
Yeah.
It's playing kind of with the ambiguity of his death.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot there. But if you weren't inspired by it, then it just makes more sense why you would read that and love it.
Right. No, I was actually more so inspired by Christopher Nolan.
That makes sense.
Yeah, like that was where it really came from. Just not Tenet, obviously, because Tenet wasn't out by then, and I can't watch it because I can't hear it. So I like how Christopher Nolan plays around with time.
Yeah.
But the way he does it is purposeful to convey an emotional truth.
Yes.
And so it comes across as clinical and cold and sterile, but he's doing that on purpose to put you off guard.
Right.
Because when you watch those movies, like Interstellar is a family drama, but it's a sci-fi time travel, climate era thing, family drama at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So that's what I was trying to go for when I was like, let me chop up this person's life. Like I've rearranged it several times too. I was just like, what flows the best? Yeah. I thought of it honestly like a writer's room, where like I didn't necessarily have index cards on a wall and move stuff around, slotting them in. But the way they're marked off, I wrote it chronologically, and I had natural breaks for where things went. But I was like, does it need to be chronological?
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't. It actually made it stronger when I move stuff around. And I think what it really only needed to be was to start you off with the narrator's innocence, because I need to win you over right away, because I'm going to make you hate him very soon.
Yeah.
And so if I got you on that first page, when you see him cheat on his wife later on in the story, you hate him, but you also see that he hates him.
Yeah.
And that's when you're like, all right, he's just a guy. He's just a guy who fucked up.
Yep.
And instead of hating him. So like he goes from being a character to a person. When I originally did it as I was like running through it chronologically, it just didn't hit the same. Like it was still there, but like the emotion that I wanted, which I wanted you to be heartbroken and sad and wistful at the end, not necessarily because I'm suggesting that his life is at an end. Like, yeah, it is. He's old. He's going to die. Whether or not it's that night or that year or in the next 5 years, he's going to die. I want you to be sad and wistful because I want you to know he knows he fucked up.
Yeah.
And he can't correct it. He can only accept it. And that's life. Like you can't, you got to accept stuff. You can't fix every little thing, which you were saying about how Allison was able to convey that line about the couple just having sex and like any lack of like physicality or romance or passion
one way or another. Yeah.
I think so. When I see that in my students writing nowadays, it always blows me away. And I think the reason why, because I agree with you, I think it's really, really hard to write something beyond your years and purview.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it comes from people who have emotional maturity.
Yeah.
Which means you probably have seen some crap or are traumatized in whatever way. But if you're able to process it and deal with it and manage it however you can speak a lot of wisdom at a young age.
Yeah.
And so me seeing my kids in my creative writing class talk about stuff like they're writing like war stories, and it's like, how can you tell the truth about a soldier on the battlefield? But like, I'm sitting there going, damn, like, I feel like that on the subway sometimes. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Just take the situation, put it in a different setting. And that's what human empathy is. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And so like, I think it speaks to emotional maturity when people are able to do that. But emotional maturity comes from experiencing a wide set of things. Like if I'm just reading Batman comics all the time, that's not even fair, because there's some really good Batman comics.
There's some really good ones, yeah.
Yeah, but like, you know what I mean? Like if I'm just reading in one lane and one genre, and if I literally only watch the MCU, like I can't, at some point, how can I relate to some things that doesn't happen in the MCU? Like I can't, you know?
And that's why Christopher Nolan made such a good Batman movie.
Yeah.
Because he took human experiences and proper use of non-chronological storytelling. Which brings me back to how surprised I am that you didn't intend that at first with your story, because there's this great moment that I think is absolutely seamless where you say something like, you wouldn't want glasses until all these years later, where they're clinking against a girl that you're so surprised is in your bed and stuff. And then it goes right back to him being a kid.
Yeah.
And I loved that little shot ahead of like, this kid doesn't even know what's coming for him yet.
No.
You know? And then it goes right back. And I can't believe that was stitched together, because I would never see the seam.
The thing is, like, it was stitched together in like where I plopped it in the story, but like the whole thing was there. Like that was purposeful. And one of the biggest things I learned from all of my creative writing teachers, and I'm saying it like gruffly, and I don't say this to my students, but like I say it in the educational setting appropriate way. You need to edge your audience. Like you can't, like that is critical to your stories. You cannot give away what's going to happen. You got to lead them to that precipice, and you got to make them want to turn the page, or you got to make them want to stay on the couch. Or now it's you got to make them not want to pick up their phone while you're watching it.
Yeah.
Like Netflix has whatever second screen policy where they got to reiterate the plot. That's bad.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So the idea is, in some of these Netflix shows and Netflix movies, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon talked about this recently. The idea is that Netflix content, not all of it, but a lot of it, has this second screen policy in which the first screen is the audience's phone, and the second one is however they're watching the movie or the TV show. And it's because we're addicted to our phones. So that's why when you watch these things, you, Steve, sit there and are genuinely paying attention because you like movies, you like TV, and you go, why do they just keep repeating the plot? I know where we are. I know what's happening. I understand the conflict. It's because they are assuming that their audience is looking at their phone. And it just takes away from the story.
Is this a technological thing where you sync your phone to it, or they're literally...
No.
It's just a way of writing the movie.
A way of writing the movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, why would screen 2 be the TV?
No, I
don't get it.
It's because that's not your focus, you know?
Wow.
Which sucks.
It's like coming back from a commercial break on Family Guy, and Lois is like, I know, our dog Brian Griffin is dead.
Exactly. But at least that made sense then, because you're reminding where people are picking up. Like it might not have been good, but there was a logic to it, and there's not a logic to the Netflix one, but it's a super
It's
dark
just much
logic.
sadder.
Yeah. But this is what I tell my students, and you really have to like make your audience want to stay with you. My 10th grade just finished reading a novel, the one I talked about last year, Mornings in Janine.
Oh, yeah.
And the novel opens with a gun at a woman's head. in 2002. And it is such a crazy scene because it's in first person, and she goes, "Oh, he's not going to shoot me because I've seen death and I've seen murderers, and he doesn't have that look in his eye." And then it shoots us back to the 1940s, and we spend 300 pages watching this woman grow up, only to come back to that very same scene near the end of the novel. And so I was literally doing notes on the board about this book today with my class, and as they're going through it, they're like, "Oh yeah, like she's got a gun to her head," and I was like, "Okay, has she ever had a gun to her head?" And they were like, "Well, a gun's been pointed at her when she was a kid, but like, no, she hasn't." And like the quiet kids, but like the reader kids in the class were like, "No, that happened in the prologue." I was like, "Right." I was like, "What's the year in the prologue?" And they go, 2002. I was like, "Great. What's the year in this chapter?" And they go, 2002. And you see the realization that the author dropped you in the middle of the worst part of the story. And then she's like, let's build some character. You got to earn it. And then you go back.
Yep,
and you like,
that's me. You're probably wondering how I got in this situation.
Some of them said that today, and I was like, that's exactly what she did.
Yeah. Yeah, in Latin it's in medias res, but in
perfect
2000 speak, it's Dirty Little Secret starts playing.
Right, exactly. That was the note that I gave yours. I was like, "Yay, in medias res, every story should start this way."
Yeah, I think this might be my last question/comment.
Okay.
So the ending of On Site reminded me of the ending of that one Twilight Zone episode.
The one with Burgess Meredith?
Yes.
Yeah.
Time Enough at Last.
Yeah.
But I noticed that it's kind of an opposite reaction.
What do you mean?
For those who don't know the episode of Twilight Zone, this guy who loves books and works at a bank and is kind of made fun of for being a bookworm is like the last guy on Earth because he's inside a bank vault when a nuclear apocalypse happens. So he survives it and becomes the last person on Earth. And he's like about to kill himself, but then he finds a library and he's like, "Oh my God, there's no one around to keep me away. Like I've got all the provisions I need to subsist. Like now I can just read. I can finally do it." And then just as he's about to start, his glasses fall off and break.
Yes.
And he just breaks down in despair and says, "There was finally enough time."
Yeah.
And now he's got to live not even being able to do the one thing he can. I felt like the ending of your story was a similar thing, but with a different reaction because it's such a good hook of having the glasses. It comes up throughout the whole story and it ends with him sitting on them and breaking them. And it's just as he's about to read too. Like he's in his library. He's going to like pick up a book. It doesn't really matter to him because books come and go so fast now, but he sits on his glasses and he can't do it. But he's not like upset. He's not like feeling lost. He just seems numb, you know, like, okay, I guess. And then he just like goes back to bed.
Yeah.
Maybe to die. It doesn't really matter. Either way, he's given up on life.
Right.
And I don't know. I want to know what you were thinking by ending on that, besides it just being a great end point of after hearing what those glasses have seen for all these years, that it ends with them breaking.
Right. So Time Enough at Last was 100% an inspiration because I remember that. I watched that as a kid and I loved that episode. I hated Burgess Meredith because I thought he was so whiny. And he also played the Penguin in Batman.
Yes.
And I hated him as the Penguin, like complimentary, like it's good. Like,
yeah.
But he bothered me so much in that. I was like, you don't even like kind of deserve to get to read, because not only is he like getting picked on and stuff, he's like very self-centered in that episode too. Like he's not a nice man. He just likes to do his own thing and he just likes to read. And so that's part of the you in On Site is that he's a selfish guy, but you saw him as a kid. He's not a selfish guy. He's just a guy who likes to read and he has to keep it really secret. So eventually everything that he likes in life becomes a secret, and watch how that breaks down his life and his relationships. for that endpoint, I think endings are so hard to land. I think they're
Yeah.
I think any writer or any person, maybe songwriting is a little different. I'm not talking lyrics. I'm just talking musically.
Yeah.
I think song like composition, I think that's easier because there's more generally accepted rules that we should follow. Which is like you end on the tonic, and if you don't, are you going to make it sad and end on a dark minor? Is there going to be a hanging seventh or various things that you can do? But like you've only got so many tools in the box, right?
Right.
In movies, in short stories, in comics, like dude, endings are hard. Like Stephen King has a whole career and he can't write an ending to save his life. And he admits it, like he's open about it. He's like, I can't do it. But he still cranks out books because he's a journeyman writer. I had this vision of the guy sitting on the glasses at the end and breaking them, and it honestly doesn't even matter because like who doesn't have a backup pair of glasses, especially a guy who's worked in publishing his whole life. Like it's fine, he's got another pair. The bigger deal is that he doesn't go get another pair. And the bigger deal is that he's going to bed. Like it's not there's not time enough at last. He's had his time.
Yeah.
And that's how I viewed it. That's why. So I appreciate that you're seeing the inverse of time enough at last, because I think I said earlier, this is him accepting, and it's not only acceptance, but also like you said, he's giving up a little bit because like he doesn't even clean it up. He doesn't even try to put them back together. He just goes to bed.
Yeah.
And granted, he's alone. Like he could do whatever he wants in his house, but like, I don't know, man. I live by myself with Franklin, and it's like, if I drop something, I'm going to clean it up. This guy doesn't, which is sad. And it makes me think about like, he just dropped the ball on everything in his life. And him sitting on the glasses and getting up is him finally going, well, I'm old. Maybe I'll read tomorrow. It probably doesn't. Like in my headcanon of headcanons, like he probably should die there. But the thing is, if I end the story with him dying there on a structural level, it doesn't make sense because it's hard to write stories about death that are not in third person. But it also starts to enter like a sickly sweet tone because death is a conclusion in life in some sort of way. And when you put this natural conclusion as the conclusion of the art that you're making, I don't know, it's like meta in a bad way. Yeah. Like, and now they died. Credits roll. Yeah. Like, okay.
The only thing I can think to make it work would be if it just like stopped mid-sentence.
I have thought of that so many times. I've thought of stopping mid-sentence. I think I even tried doing that in a story in some notebook in my apartment. But I've thought of stopping mid-sentence, which I think is awesome. Like it makes sense, right? I've thought of there being an afterlife in the story, but the audience doesn't get to know that, and they find out with the narrator. But I feel like that's something that's been done in like that's the Sixth Sense. You know, I haven't seen that in prose, but there are ways to make it work because there's always ways that you could break the rules. More so, my thing is that if death is the ending of a story, I think that's a bad ending. I think that's a lazy ending, I guess is a better way to say it. Like it's a hack ending. Something I learned and something I like try to commit and like try to impart to my students. We just had a project where they read Raymond Carver's Cathedral.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So for listeners, it's about a man who is the narrator who is not empathetic, and a blind man who is a friend of his wife comes to visit them. And over the course of the story, a subtle shift occurs where the narrator becomes empathetic and understands the blind man's experience, but it is an epiphany to the guy. And it's a huge change in his life. And you feel that in Carver's story. That was the challenge for my students on this last go-round. And it couldn't be a speculative story. It had to be just as mundane as it could get. But there needs to be conflict. It's just got to be regular. But something major has to occur internally, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, whatever. A few of them wrote their stories and did really, really well. And they got to the ending, and the ending was fine. And in my notes for the majority of them, I was like, you got to cut the last paragraph. You got to cut the last line. Like, there's too much here. And while we're doing this workshop, I was like, hey, I'm giving you the heads up. You're all going to get a lot of the same notes, but like, it's not a bad thing. It's just, I'm nitpicking because it's so good. Let's make it great. And you get the whole story. And then my students would kind of like state what the theme of the story is as the last sentence or paragraph. And I was like, yo, stop. Let your audience figure out the theme. You did a good job. If they don't get it, it's on them.
Yeah.
And so they're sitting there, and like, I think by the time we got to the third student who had that issue, I was like, I got one major thing. And the girl interrupts me and she goes, I got to cut the last paragraph. And I was like, all right, we're done. Like, you get it. Like, and she's like, yeah, I get it. Like, I learned from the last 2 workshops that like I trust the audience, like respect the audience to do that. And I think when death is the ending in a story, like the last thing of a story, you're disrespecting the audience. Because everybody knows how everybody's stories end. It ends in death. Why am I reading another one?
Yeah. Yeah. I think what's more tragic, really, that I think you capture so well in On Site is the death of spirit, the death of the will to live.
Yeah.
That's more tragic, to be in a shell. Because, everyone will die, but will everybody have a meaningful life? That's different. And will you be satisfied at the end of your life and look back with regret or with satisfaction, So I think you get that well. And I think, ending it on a hard line like that, or restating the theme, it removes the ability for something to stay with you.
Yeah.
Because if you're sitting there thinking, what does it mean? You're thinking about it longer. And when something stays with you, it gives it the chance to breathe and be great.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's too final, okay, it's all right, I'm going to go watch a movie. I'm going to go get a slice, and I'm never going to think about this again. That's the difference between a Marvel movie and, well, I'm sorry, they have post-credit scenes, so we're going to see what's happening next. But
we should do an episode on post-credit scenes that work and that don't, or something like that.
I would actually kind of love that if it didn't mean I have to watch those movies again.
Yeah, I'm not. We're not doing
that. There's like 50 of them.
Yeah.
All right, we went way over time, but this was like really fun to do, so I don't even care.
It was fun. I'm looking forward to listening back and making stuff shine and polish and whatnot. But do you have any final thoughts?
Nope. I'm just amazed by your talent and grateful to be a creative partner of yours in multiple ways.
Oh, damn. I don't get to say that now. That's really nice. I appreciate that.
Well, I don't deserve it, so it's okay.
I have been having a rough several weeks, a lot of people, and obviously not rough. Like, it's a spectrum of rough nowadays, but it's just a lot's going on all the time. So as much as I like doing this, I wasn't even looking forward to doing it. It was so reinvigorating to sit and just yap about craft. And like it was so nice. So I feel good. I feel like going to pick up my journal and writing, even getting whatever out, because I'm working on a story right now, and I was like, should I keep that one? Do I want to continue it? Should it be longer? I just want to sit down and do something in that regard. So I appreciate having this conversation to feel like that again, because it's just, that part feels withering, because it's hard to think about creative pursuits when everything is burning around you.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that, even if it's just a distraction from, the constant chaos, that anything that make you feel purposeful and productive and productive in a way that fulfills you that's just good to have.
Well, that's it. Thanks for listening.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Filler. If you liked what you heard, please rate and review this episode to help others find it. For more recommendations and explorations of media we love, go to afterschoolspecial.xyz and follow us on Instagram @FillerPod. See you next time.